Hello, everyone,
Hello.
and welcome to Watching Twin Peaks for the first time.
Heck yeah.
Today. What a Twin Peaks day we've
Right?
had.
It's been a lot.
Because
but it's
we
good.
talked about the finale
Yeah, for an
this
hour.
morning for an hour. Then we went and watched Twin Peaks Fire Walk with
Yeah.
Me. Apparently, the full original title was Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, Teresa Banks, and the Last 7 Days of Laura Palmer. And what a wild, intense ride that film is. And so this is the first time Mackenzie has seen the film.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching.
Yes.
If you've never seen Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me,
don't want
to watch this video because we are giving away spoilers.
Yeah.
This is our hot take,
We're not
going to
tell the story as well as they did.
Yes.
So don't watch us first.
And we'll go on tangents, and we're probably giving analysis that is very rushed and off the it's really what the show's about is off the top of our head analysis, and maybe something will stick
don't
for
write anything
you
down.
With Tibet, just throw rocks at things.
I mean, they hit Andy on the head.
Poor Andy. Andy makes so many discoveries accidentally.
Yeah.
And we don't have Andy in this film. So maybe the first thing we'll talk about is who is not in this film from our favorite Twin Peaks show that you miss?
I miss. Well, I don't necessarily miss them because I really liked this movie.
Okay.
I liked it as a movie, and I liked it as a part of the story because it made me feel like we were talking about it earlier, and it makes me feel like, oh, they're finally getting through to the people who didn't think Leland Palmer was the guy.
Yeah.
You know? Because, like, I don't want to be like, we need to, I had it right the whole time. Because I didn't. I went off on tangents. But every single time I was like, we need to look into Leland.
You felt that if this was a real, crime,
right?
That the dad would be the prime suspect. And you kind of, for a while, whenever you've hesitated about picking Leland as your prime suspect, it was because it's like, now it seems too obvious, right?
Yeah.
He's in police custody, so now it's too obvious. So, so in a lot of ways, if we pull up a photo of Laura in the Black Lodge, or the White Lodge, or the waiting room, it seems like it's the spirit of Laura here. Yes. So this film gives us really an expose of Laura's life and obviously her death, but the events leading up to her death. And so we get to see Laura not just in a weird dream and not just in like little snippet flashbacks. So what did you think of the character of Laura Palmer?
Yeah, I really liked Laura Palmer, but I love the fact that we're playing off of like good and bad in each person. And for Laura, I think in the end, the good wins, right? She doesn't give in. She doesn't crumble, and the good wins.
Because there's this idea that Bob wants to possess her,
right?
And she doesn't let him.
She doesn't want that. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into. We'll try to go in some semblance of order, which is not easy to do.
It's not.
But let's start talking about. Chet Desmond is the agent.
Oh, yes.
So at the beginning of the film, is he the opposite of Dale Cooper?
In some ways.
Because they both seem like they're good people.
Yes.
Right. So it's not like he's an evil twin. He's not a Wyndham Earle.
He's not a doppelganger.
But he's not a doppelganger.
Yeah.
But we do have instead of Twin Peaks, we have Deer Meadows.
Yeah.
And we have. And we've got some antithesis sort of characters happening.
Yes.
So we have the sheriff who's not like
awful.
Right. Sheriff Cable is very different than Sheriff Truman. The deputy is very different than Andy.
Yes.
Even the receptionist is very different than Lucy.
Yeah.
And those three that I just listed off have like a very mean-spirited, arrogant, selfish quality to them that the Twin Peaks counterparts don't have. So what did you think of Chet Desmond, special agent?
Chet Desmond. I like Chet Desmond. He was a lot more willing to get physical than Dale Cooper, so I felt like that was an opposite. He was a lot more easily, like his temper was easily thrown off by the people around him. he didn't ask that many questions. I guess Dale Cooper doesn't do that either.
That's kind of like Dale Cooper.
Yeah.
He does ask the person.
I like that he showed his ID.
Yes, he shows his ID.
I was so happy. I was like, yes,
so that's
finally.
Right? So he had Gordon Cole says he's got his own MO. So his modus operandi seems like it's different than Dale Cooper's, and yet I think that Chet and Dale would get along.
I think they would. Yeah. I don't know that Albert and Chet would get along.
I don't know. Yeah, they both seem kind of like Boy Scout characters.
Right. There's his
There's the
friend.
sidekick character played by Kiefer Sutherland. What's his name? Sam, right?
Sam. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and he worked on some case, and he's like, I heard about that.
Sam helped solve the Whitman case.
Yeah. I don't know what the Whitman case is.
I don't know what it is either.
Cool. I thought maybe it was something I missed.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. So Chet is shown by Gordon Cole at the beginning of his adventure, or misadventure. Is shown Lil.
Yes.
And we get the sour face. And the blinking eyes.
One hand
is clenched. We get the hand in the pocket. The dress is altered. There's a blue rose. So each of those.
And stepping around.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because there's going to be a lot of legwork.
Yeah.
So each of those is this little message.
Yeah.
Why do you suppose Gordon Cole just didn't rattle off those things?
I don't know. I feel like in this world of Twin Peaks, I feel like it's not our world, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because it's like in this world, there's like somebody always watching. There's always somebody watching. There's always some presence observing the FBI.
Gotcha.
The FBI isn't observing its citizens. It's like someone else is observing the
whether
FBI.
Whether it's Wyndham Earl bugging the bonsai tree, or whether it's like Bob or something watching from the woods.
It's the opposite. It's not. It's like the FBI is being
followed and observed.
Yeah, like no matter where they go. And so I feel like that's probably why. But it also threw me off that later on they just said.
Well, in the drive, right? In the car drive.
Yeah, so then like I have no idea.
And then he tells them things.
Yeah.
Here's my theory. I called it sort of a tutorial level, like in a video game. I feel like David Lynch is like, hey, I'm going to show you this weird thing that looks like she could be in just any David Lynch moment in any David Lynch film, and you go like, yep, that's David Lynch, and you wouldn't analyze it, you wouldn't think about it, you would just go, that's weird for the sake of weird.
Yeah.
And so
there's nothing wrong with that. So
when Agent Chet is basically saying
overanalyze.
Well, he's basically saying, here's what all these things mean.
Right. But
I'm not going to tell you what the blue rose means.
Yeah.
So it's almost like David Lynch, and maybe this is to throw us off.
Yeah.
It's almost like David Lynch is inviting us. It's like, look carefly at all of the details that I'm putting in.
Ducks, corn, vegetables.
Because there's
double donuts.
There's going to be meaning in all of these things.
He's telling a story. So I guess still feeling. He's telling a story. The story's not quite decided when he's filming. And then the story is complete, right? And now, once that story is complete, we could just go back and look at all the details and be humans and find little patterns.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very human thing to be like, let's find all the patterns that told us what the end of the story was. Even if those patterns, like if we look at those patterns and we're like, oh, this all fits together, and then we get the wrong answer, then we're going to go back and say like, oh, well, this actually meant this, and this is this. So it makes sense for me because she... Like, okay, he probably knows most of this stuff by intuition. The guy who's in the car, Chet.
Yes.
He probably knows this kind of town. He like, yeah, that makes sense. I know what I need to do in this town. I'm going to have to do a lot of legwork.
Yeah.
So he's anticipating. He knows the end of the story. You know what I mean? But he's like, oh, here's a thing that I can apply meaning to. Because otherwise, wouldn't they teach you? Like, the other guy's like, I'm an FBI agent who doesn't know this code. Like, what?
Well, that's the fun thing. So the question or the riddle that's left unanswered is the blue rose.
Yes.
Where Sam says, oh, the blue rose, right? Chet Desmond says, did you notice anything else? And like a blue rose.
Blue rose.
And Agent Desmond says like, well, I can't tell you about that.
Right.
So that one remains a secret.
Yeah.
Dale Cooper later says, I'm worried because this is one of Gordon Cole's Blue Rose cases.
Yeah.
Sam says before he basically sees Chet Desmond for the last time, says, "You're Agent Desmond. You're going after the Blue Rose, aren't you?" So, what do you think the Blue Rose means?
I think the Blue Rose isn't about the person or the case. I think it's about the area.
The area.
Yeah, because when we've been on these like quests, you know, we've always been around a military base, specifically the Air Force, which color is blue.
Okay.
And we've been on like these crazy, like, there's weird stuff happening.
Gotcha.
So it might, you know, like if you're going to Area 51, they might give you a Blue Rose.
Well, what's the UFO project called?
I have no idea.
Project Blue Book.
Project Blue Book. So there you go. That's my theory.
All right.
That's my theory.
So basically it means like this is something.
This is like a weird area, anomalous area
kind of thing going on.
Exactly.
And you think it's tied in with the geography?
Yes.
Like this is
like
this
an area has a history.
This area,
and it lives and breathes in its history.
That's very interesting.
What do you think the Blue Rose is?
Pretty flower. No,
pretty flower.
I thought that the Blue Rose meant that there's something that, because there's been disappearances of agents, like Agent Phillip Jeffries, that I thought the Blue Rose meant that this has something to do with these otherworldly entities or so I don't know at this point if Gordon Cole knows that there's some other world or other being or something like that, or if it's just if it represents like this is a very dangerous mystery that we really don't understand. Yeah. So like the phrase like the known unknowns.
Yes.
Right. So this is a known unknown. Like this is an area.
This is scary. Get ready.
Yeah, not necessarily a geographic area. Yeah. But this is a situation, or like you say, a pattern.
Right.
So it seemed like something is something's really amiss.
Yeah.
But so at the same time, Gordon Cole in this first part of the film, when we see him reacting to Phillip Jeffries when he comes in, he's just like, "Hey, Dale, say hello to Phillip Jeffries. Jeffries, where have you been the last 20 years?" Right. So it's like he's been missing, but Gordon Cole really has no idea of an otherworldly disappearance kind of thing. Yeah. So I'd like to think that Gordon Cole, when he sends you on a Blue Rose case, he knows that there's an otherworldly aspect. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he doesn't know what else to do about it. Yeah. But I do like the idea, like the Blue Book, Blue Rose kind of connection.
Right. Like if they have their
and we do know that Wyndham Earl has had ties with Blue Book. So probably Gordon Cole knows that there's something weird going on that the Air Force has been exploring. Yeah. That's very hush hush.
Oh, be careful.
Keep this secret.
Yeah.
So how much do you think Gordon Cole knows about the weirdness that's going on?
I don't know that he knows.
I'm kind of under the impression that whatever Phillip Jeffries is saying to them is really their first indication of, this is the strange nature of this mysterious Blue Rose case. Right. And before that, it was maybe just things disappear and we have no idea why.
I don't know. Yeah.
But then that sort of makes you want to ask the question, why did Teresa Banks's death why did that trigger a Blue Rose? Like what about the death?
That's why I thought the area, because she's found in Twin Peaks, isn't she? She's found on a bank. She's found in that river.
I don't know if she's found in Twin Peaks. I'm under the impression that Deer Meadows isn't that far away from Twin Peaks.
Right. So I just feel like
and Laura and Ronette have worked with her.
Right.
They've been around her. Yeah. So it can't be that far away from Twin Peaks.
Yeah, because it's like the space. That's why I'm thinking like it's the place.
Yeah.
It's the woods.
All right. So Chet Desmond interviews the manager guy, right, of the trailer court.
Right.
And I think his name is Carl Rod.
Yeah.
The old man that's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. And he's got everything switched. Mm-hmm. Instead of the left side, it switched to the right side.
Because we see
his little injury.
He has an injury. The old woman is covering her right eye.
Yeah. It's her right eye. And the girl that died, can't remember, Teresa Banks. Her right arm goes out.
Is it her right arm? I think they said left.
Left arm?
Yeah, the left arm goes up.
But it is interesting that the 2 injuries that we see.
Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of things that happen with like injuries or like scars and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. So they are talking about the ring that's in the photo.
Yeah.
And then he's looking for that ring.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say about the manager that you think?
Oh, I don't know. He seemed interesting.
I think when he says, "I just want to stay where I am," and I've already traveled to places.
Yeah.
I think he's been to one of the lodges.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think so when that lady shows up, and she's probably some kind of spirit. She's probably, or at least inhabited by a spirit.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I think that because the camera, when it's supposedly from her point of view, is kind of like floating towards there. It's not an old lady shuffle. Walk. It's like it's floating, and then she shows up, and it's just kind of weird and creepy.
Yeah.
And
he's like,
and it's almost like
it's in response to her.
Seeing her, makes him feel like, like
like this.
So I might be traveling again, or things are happening again. Yeah. And I don't want things to happen again.
I was going to contact the police.
Yeah,
that's what he's like. Yes. No need.
So she talks about like, her arm went dead.
Her arm went dead for 3 days.
So what do you think's going on with the ring? What does the ring mean?
So I know the ring has that little owl symbol. I think of the symbol as a little owl.
Yeah.
And it's turned upside down all the time by the scary spirits.
And an interesting thing about a ring is that you could take off a ring,
put it either way,
and you could put it either way.
Yeah.
And that probably means something, right? Like how you put on the ring.
Yeah, like how you enter the lodge. How you put on the ring and how you enter the lodge are very similar.
Yeah.
Because you could enter it either way.
We eventually see Laura putting on the ring. Dale Cooper is telling her not to put on the ring. But I don't know if we see. We see? We might need to look at this. Do we see in which way she puts on the ring?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Right?
Also, does it depend on which way you turn it, which lodge you go into?
I don't know.
When he does that turning
when he turns
thing?
that, I don't know what that does.
Yeah, it just kind of like shake.
It makes things shake.
Oh,
People's hand shake. Yeah.
I forgot what it does.
What does it do?
It puts a whole bunch of other hieroglyphs on there. That's where they got the map.
It makes things fall. The stuff falls.
Yeah, the stuff falls, and then you can see the map.
But I guess what I don't know is, does it do something else?
Yeah.
I mean,
can it open the other lodge?
Does turning it just reveal like, hey, there's a map?
Yeah.
Or has it sort of opened things up?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it's interesting that it's turned upside down, right?
Yeah.
And that could mean
a lot of things.
Good, evil, black, white. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Great.
So what do you think happens to Chet Desmond?
I think Chet, he gets squeezed and he gets turned into that little green. No, I don't know.
Yeah, do you think he's obliterated the way possibly Wyndham Earl is, or do you think that he's in the lodge the way Dale Cooper is?
Honestly, I think he could like pick up the ring and be like, "Oh crap." And just his eyes turn white, and he just runs into the woods.
Oh, okay. So
he's just like,
You don't think necessarily he entered
or he entered the lodge, and then he got out of the lodge, and he's like, "Yep, I'm off into the woods. I go." I don't feel like he's dead. I feel like he's just somewhere else. Like he just either in the lodge or went through the lodge and just no more.
Because
I don't want to travel
because
anymore.
They call this place the waiting room, and you're just wandering around.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe he has entered
some type of place.
Kind of place.
Yeah.
Because it's very vague, right? He's reaching for the ring, and then it just fades to black.
Yeah, maybe he put it on, and then it was like.
But here's the interesting thing: is that when that fades to black, then we cut to Philadelphia.
Right.
They're having a conversation. Dale Cooper's talking about the dream. Philip Jeffries shows up, and then after that, after Philip Jeffries disappears, that's when Albert announces that Chet Desmond has disappeared.
Yeah.
So there's almost like by Chet grabbing the ring.
Oh, he opened him?
This kind of opening that happens.
Yeah, and so he can get out for a little while and tell him a story.
Yeah.
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 Like
and
that.
So let's talk about Phillip Jeffries, played by David Bowie.
Which is the weirdest casting
So
choice.
what did you think of him?
I loved it, but the role was so weird that I couldn't even tell it was David Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like you could have picked anyone. It's not
his British accent, and David Bowie likes to appear in some movies and things like that. You know,
like you could have walked down the hall, and I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense.
So do you remember anything that he says? Keep in mind, we're just doing the first time watching. We could go back and just study the heck out of this, but we're going. So you don't remember anything that he says?
There's like the people talking, so I don't know.
We had the subtitles on, which we thought like, well, that's going to be great because it's going to really help us. Some of those subtitles were incorrect.
Yeah. Maybe
some of them were wrong. Yeah. So some of them were not
everything
correct.
And everything.
And then some of it says just
inaudible. Yeah.
Yeah. So the subtitles did not always help
good.
Us. So you don't remember anything he says?
Not really. I think he's like, I made it back, and I don't know, because I got too enthralled with the like 7 characters in a room kind of situation.
So he starts talking, then it fades to the people hanging out. I assume it's above the convenience store. Because he does mention that.
Yeah.
And that's something that's a callback to an earlier Bob thing.
Bob boys.
Instead of like living in the second floor in the convenience stores, it's like this layer,
night veil.
Yeah.
Like you can't see it, but it's there.
Sure. This is like the weird Black Lodge kind of
effect.
Ethereal realm that's placed above the convenience store.
Do you think it's above Ed's
convenience store? I don't know.
I'd like to think so.
Maybe.
That's why Nadine's freaking out, because she stays there all day.
That makes some sense. It could be something, something like that.
And she's like, I need curtains. They can see me. Oh God! And her curtains are red.
I love that you're bringing Firewalk around to Nadine.
I need to have Nadine in the conversation.
Nadine, why weren't you in Firewalk with me?
Although that sheriff guy, or it's the sheriff. Mm-hmm. He can bend metal, and I was like, Nadine's dead.
Yeah, we were wondering, is Sheriff Cable related to Nadine, because he's Cable bends steel. So they are showing. So what do you remember visually?
So
about
they're like
what's
all
in
standing. It reminds me of the weird French play of like. No, it's not a French play. I'm sorry.
The Italian play of 6 characters looking for an author.
Yeah, there's 6 characters looking for an author, but I just remembered.
I think it's 6.
There's 6 or 9. 7. But there's one that's a Twilight Zone episode where they're all in a hole.
Oh, that's right.
There's like 6 characters in a hole, and they're trying to make their way out.
Yeah.
Because I get those 2 stories mixed up. Okay. They're very similar.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It reminded me of that, and I couldn't stop thinking about the episode where they're like trying to climb out of the hole, but they're just toys. So okay. I feel
So you think they're kind of weird playthings?
Yeah. Like they're just tools.
They're tools waiting in the tool shed.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And there are some people with tools, right? I think there's some lumberjacks in there.
Yeah. There's like.
We see Mrs. Tremond in there.
Yeah. Yes. And the boy.
And the boy's there, and a couple characters, like masked characters we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
We see a monkey face.
Yes.
Which reminds me of that weird little short
film. The little
film.
David Lynch short film where he's talking to a monkey.
Yeah.
Is that his monkey?
I don't know if he's friends with the monkey.
Does David Lynch have a friend that's a monkey?
He might have a friend that's a monkey. And he's just like, this is all like, I just needed to cast my monkey friend in one of the. That's why I needed this. Yeah. And so we see the little dwarf. We're talking about the Mica table,
right?
And we see Bob.
And
we see anybody else?
Is the tall guy there?
I don't see. I didn't see the giant's not there.
So it's more like the scary.
It's more the sinister ones. But Mrs. Tremond, I don't know if she and her grandson are scary or not.
Yeah. Do you think the lumberjack character is Log Lady's dead husband?
Maybe.
That's
interesting. Interesting, yeah.
He's a lumberjack.
Let me ask you this. do you think that, because we've kind of been talking about these spirits as
people?
Weird, well, Wyndham Earl talks about them as like they're these gods, right? Like there's these.
I think they're more like tools of gods.
Yeah. So he talks about them like they're these powerful things, and they tap into things like fear and stuff like that, and they don't care if they're evil, right? He calls them the Dugpas.
Yeah.
If I am saying that correctly. Yeah. Remember when he's talking on the videotape?
Right.
So he's talking about these like really powerful entities, like titans or something like that. But do you think that could a human ever become one of these creatures?
I think that they can take on
like could Chet Desmond or Phillip Jeffries ever or even Dale Cooper or Laura Palmer or whoever, could they ever become like, well, now I'm at the convenience store and I'm one of these weird guys? I think,
to be fair, one does. Well, at least the human form of him does. Mike is not, like, Mike was around before the guy he inhabited and then became Mike. Yeah. You know, like, he was like, yeah, this is who I'm going to be now. Let me take this on.
Phillip Gerard, who sometimes channels Mike, when we see Mike/Phillip go into the when lodge,
he's in the lodge, he's Mike.
It's not some other
and Phillip
character avatar.
Unlike Leland and Bob. Yeah. Where it's like Bob's in Leland. It's like but it's Bob's not the identity.
Suit I mean, no.
Leland's a suit.
Leland's a suit. Yeah. Like Leland's a suit that Bob puts on, takes off and floats it there. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a coat. He like hangs up his coat. Yeah. Hangs up his Leland coat.
Wow. There's a lot to talk about.
There's so much.
I'm going to pause it here and we're going to keep talking. So if you'd like to join us, please do.
Keep coming
because
back.
As you know, we've only gotten through the first sort of section.
I mean, we jumped a little bit.
We've hopped around a little bit. But our focus today, or for this episode,
was 15 minutes.
Yeah, Chet Desmond and what he discovers. Yeah. And next episode, though, we're going to get into Laura Palmer and her life and demise.
Absolutely.
Fire Walk with me.
See you next time.
Goodbye.
See you soon.